Gurkha. Something expensive. Yeah, okay, so I actually brought this out and kind of realized at the last second, I really didn't know what the name of this was. I think it's Gurkha Legends Signature or something like that. Don't quote me on that. I'll just go ahead and put the actual name of it in the title once I actually figure out what that is. Anyway, this is one of the more expensive looking, at least, as you can see, very well made lines. And there's something kind of interesting here where they have this little band here says A Century of Tradition. Signature Collection. So obviously it has the owner's name, and yeah, I'm just kind of trying to find a segue here into something I found out about the company that I didn't know until I actually looked it up. Gurkha actually is not over 100 years old. And I point this out because I made a video earlier where I was kind of musing at the fact that if you were alive during like the 1890s, it would have been possible to get one of these. Well, actually, no, it wouldn't. If you're smoking cigars in the 1980s, well, yeah, that would be a whole different thing. So I'll get into that a little bit more in depth later. Right now, I just want to talk about the construction. As you can see, very nice. Has a solid triple cap going on, and no bumps, no large veins, any kind of weirdness. Could be a little smoother, but then again, handmade product. Turns out, I think, fairly well. Now here's hoping that a slight breeze doesn't come up and completely screw up my light as I cut this and try to remember which lighter actually has fuel in it. And which direction the wind is blowing from. Yep, I'm going to have to do this the hard way. Okay, well, I hope I was in frame for that. And I got a slight little bit of a, but yeah, I think I can fix that in a second here. So, for the record, no, I still haven't gotten my butane lighter replaced yet, so yeah, that is what it is. Straight away, it's a little spicy. Clean tobacco. A little earthy. I kind of want to say slightly, maybe a little woody. Not sure. Yeah, a little spice, a little earth. Good clean tobacco. Not a whole lot of sweet, at least not yet. Interesting start so far. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and get this touched up a little bit here and try to salvage this. Considering the fact that that was kind of a blustery Zippo light. Well, anyway, I'll get back to you after about an inch. Okay. So, about an inch in, most of that spice kind of completely dies out. And flavor-wise, clean sweet tobacco with a slightly cedary retrohale. Yeah, I kind of want to call that cedary woody because it's kind of also getting that little bit of slight breadiness to it as well. Overall, light, clean, nice. So, think about the Gurkha line here. On the band that I just took off here, it says A Century of Tradition. Well, that part's actually, I guess, kind of accurate because the whole thing about the Gurkha cigars is back by the 1980s. This dude, I think his name's like Kaizad Hansotia, Kaizad Kirshkabirbril. Superman's second cousin twice removed, basically. He ends up going to India, and he sees this Portuguese guy rolling cigars, and he's calling them Gurkhas. And the reason for that is because 100 years ago, the late 1800s, British Empire was still a thing. They were still camped out all over India. Well, they get these local guys, these indigenous Nepalese fighters, which are still around today, called the Gurkhas. By the way, if you ever have to meet one of these guys, do not piss them off. Gurkha is kind of a synonym for card-carrying badass, okay? So anyway, the British troops end up hanging out with these local Gurkhas, and notice in their off hours they roll cigars. So, just kind of as a slang term, using the term Gurkha to refer to a cigar kind of became a thing. And, well, they kind of stuck. It was kind of a local thing to call a cigar a Gurkha in the, for certain British territories. And of course, along comes the 1980s, and Sodia shows up, buys out all this Portuguese guy's stock and the name, and decides to start making really, really high-end luxury cigars. Along comes the cigar boom of the 1990s, and he figures maybe he needs something a little less super premium and pretentious, and so he starts branching off. And fast forward to 2020, and we've got so many lines from Gurkha, it's like ridiculous trying to keep track of all of them. Now, I just thought I'd kind of point that out because I actually had to take a second to look up exactly what the history of the company was. Pretty much because I was actually under the impression that it may have actually been a 100-year-old company, which would have been cool. But sadly, not the case. More interestingly, though, there's an actual story behind that. Well, I'm going to go ahead and smoke this down to the halfway point and hope there's not some gopher, prairie dog, rabbit with serious Main Street looking to eat my ankles. Alright, get back to the halfway point. Well, ash just fell off. This seems to be a good halfway point update. Yeah, something scratched me right on the ankle, and it's like every so often I get a little blade of grass just tickles that little scratch, like, "Hi, remember me? I'm here. Hello." So far, flavors have been pretty consistent. Subtle sweetness, clean tobacco, a little earthiness, a little toastiness. Overall, pretty mellow cigar, truth to be told. Yeah, there's definitely a good earthy note in the back of that. Now, you have to be kind of careful with earthiness, because basically the best way to describe earthiness is kind of like, well, dirt. And you're really not going to be able to get away from that, but you can kind of, there's certain things you can do to tobacco to actually kind of minimize that flavor. A lot of that has to do with the production, usually fermenting it longer, or if it's already been rolled and you notice it's got a really earthy note to it, just leave it sit in your humidor, well humidified, for like 3 years, and it usually kind of tends to, mellow out a little bit. Although every cigar is different, sometimes it gets stronger because something else mellowed out. Overall, though, just this is actually pretty good, like hot afternoon relaxed cigar. Yeah, this would be good with a good bourbon. Well, anyway, I'm going to go ahead and yank this last band here, smoke this down to the nub, and see if anything wakes up or changes. Well, I'd say this counts as the end, especially since I just got smoke in my eye. That is not fun. So, anyway, about after the halfway point, a little bit of that spice kind of came back, but it was kind of more like, I want to say like an apple cider spiced, spiced cider spice. It wasn't like hot or piquant or anything like that. It was just the kind of cinnamon clovey, kind of baking spice kind of spice. Make sure nobody's creeping up on me with a bicycle. I'll end up flipping the bird in my video. The only one who flips the bird is me, damn it. So yeah, basically this is striking me as something that you'd want to smoke with, say, a whiskey cocktail, like an old-fashioned or Manhattan, something like that. Something that's got maybe some bitters in it. Just because you're going to get kind of a similar profile to that. You get a nice earthiness, nice woodiness to it. Obviously a little bit of smoke because it's a cigar. Blah. And then you get that little bit of spice that kicks back in. That is a little, okay. Overall, good cigar for a hot day. Just kick back, chill with your friends. And I've been doing a few too many of those cigars lately, so hopefully the next one I'll end up picking up something that's a little bit more interesting. Well, anyway, that's just a little slight musing to myself here. Other than that, good cigar. I don't know if it's necessarily worth whatever they charge for them individually. If you can get them as part of like a pack of something with something else, which is how I got a hold of these. This is like a 5-pack with something else. Yeah, definitely go for it. But as far as going for a whole box, you might want to wait for a sale. That said, if this is your particular shtick, it might be a worthwhile price for you. Other than that, there's not much else to say. Like I said, good cigar for hot afternoon, as opposed to whatever the hell that's going on. Well, anyway, if you like this review or the other review, like, subscribe, leave a comment, let me know if you have had a different experience, or if there's anything you'd like to see reviewed. Especially because I'm kind of running out of stuff to review. Seriously, I need stuff. I need suggestions. Otherwise, it's going to be like 20 minutes of me going on a rampage and Grand Theft Auto 5. Although, if you want to see that, by all means, drop me a line. Other than that, check out my Twitch stream. Sundays and Wednesday nights, midnight to 2 a.m. I'm thinking about expanding at least one of my Wednesday streams to about 10 to 2. Just because of the fact that Comcast was nice enough in their infinite generosity to up my data cap by 200 gigs. Instead of just, like, dump cap data in the first place, you freaking greedy idiots. Anyway, that's pretty much all I got for this one. I'll see you next time.